Megan Whitman is a 25-year-old lesbian woman. I work at the University of Pennsylvania as an advisor to undergraduate students, and I'm fairly local. I'm really passionate about lots of things. As it relates to this, I'm really passionate about making sure that LGBT students feel included and safe on college campuses. So I decided to attend graduate school at the University of Pennsylvania for higher education because I knew that I wanted to work with students, and that was identified as a result of my college experience, which took place at a large public state university, which large public state university usually means few resources.
Right.
So while I was a student there, I didn't feel like I had much of a connection to any administrators. I didn't feel like there were a ton of resources available to the population that I identified with, or the populations I identified with.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, I sort of had a lot of like lingering shame about who I was. So when I identified this program and that I could tailor it to sort of fit my interests, both like in terms of academic research and in terms of a career move, it seemed like a good fit. So when I started school at Penn grad school, I took up a job there for the year working at the LGBT Center.
Now I'm like, I am officially gay. I am a gay person. Time to go find a gay community and be with gay people all the time. I'm gay now, so it's totally fundamentally changing every aspect of my social personality because now I'm one of the gay kids. And obviously that isn't true, and that isn't what happened.
So since I was a graduate student, they really wanted me to focus on the graduate student population at Penn, which is about 10,000 students across all schools. So it's a lot. But I did have lots of touch points with undergraduate students because the same sort of principles apply to
Yeah, they're all there.
Yeah, exactly. So my main job was at Penn there's 12 graduate schools, so to identify leaders in the LGBT community who wanted to be, in charge of like spearheading their school's LGBT related group, whether it was a professional group in the medical school or a social group at, say, the Wharton School. I had 12 groups that I advised, the leadership boards.
Okay.
Well, the leadership of the groups was usually self-identified, and there's been like a precedent set at Penn with these groups that, they have a board that leads them. It revolves every year on an elections basis, and some groups are way more robust than others. So some groups were very like fledgling. Some schools didn't have groups, and what I did, my goal was to make the groups that were dwindling or non-existent, which there were two schools, the School of Education and the Social Policy School, didn't have groups. So work to create those groups, work to provide resources to help them plan programs that would relate to the LGBT students in their respective academic communities to ensure that there was like an adequate level of representation across the university.
Because loving other people starts with loving ourselves and accepting ourselves. And I know many of you have struggled with this, and I draw upon your strength and your support in ways that you will never know. And I am here today because I am gay, and because maybe I can make a difference to help others have an easier and more hopeful time. Regardless, for me, I feel a personal obligation and a social responsibility.
The thing that we just spoke about, like the engagement with the student leaders, was all really to support the internal community, right? But I think the real change happens when you go out into the external community and educate them, or just present them with information. I don't like to say maybe educate, but so we ran a program through the LGBT Center led by my supervisor, who's the associate director, and myself, and it was called the Safe Space Program. So what we would do was go into other departments, bodies on campus, and sort of present them with the information about all the nuances of the LGBT community. So we worked with like the athletic department, we worked with the engineering school, we worked with MBA students, just to name a few. Though pretty much like almost all departments at Penn have now had this training.
Okay.
It's like almost a half a day worth of training where they go through definitions as they pertain to the LGBT community, the shocking, realization that people don't often know the difference between gender and sex, or sexual orientation and gender. Like there's just sort of lots of nuances there that say, your average heterosexual person doesn't know.
Jason Collins is the first male player from a major team sport to announce that he is gay.
I'm dating a guy and I couldn't be happier.
I'm Michael Sam. I'm a football player and I'm gay.
Robbie Rogers now breaking yet another barrier.
All the support has been overwhelming.
Because of you, there's a little boy playing basketball right now who knows that he can be who he is and play the sport that he loves.
When you look back on these years, you will see a time in which we put a stop to discrimination against gays and lesbians.
You have to be brave to step forward and declare to the rest of the world, this is who I am.
The program also included like scenarios, like breakout sessions, and then some stories from students that were in their community. So when we were meeting with the athletic director staff, we had out LGBT athletes tell a bit about their experience and their story. And that's really helpful to like show those staff members that there are real LGBT athletes. I think it gives those people who are in power really the tools to support a diverse population, because Penn and institutions across the board are becoming increasingly more diverse. Also, in my role at the LGBT Center, there's a lot of informal advising that went on surrounding personal issues of students in the community. Due to like my age, being somewhat close to the university students, and being a self-identified member of the community, I think like several of them felt comfortable coming to me with sensitive issues. Oftentimes those things surrounded not being out at home with their family, and that potentially impacting their financial contributions to college, things like that. Other things like relationships, gender exploration, even where people don't want to identify as a man or a woman. Those were common things that would come to my office. And mostly my job was to listen, really, hear them out, relate to them as I can, and if other resources are needed to be recommended, I would do that. So if a student was in crisis, I would ensure that they got the help that they needed, right? But that didn't happen very often. Mostly it was just people who were in, a stressful situation, didn't quite know how to handle it, and, were upset, really. So I've learned a lot about myself from all this. I've learned that there were a lot of sort of unresolved issues with my own sexuality, and that came out from sort of helping these students navigate like their own shame and their own fear. I realized that I had a lot of that sort of underneath through
working at other people. That's cool.
Yeah, because I came out like over 12 years ago, and just kind of like put all that like away, the traumas that happened then, because now I'm accepted in my family and I'm accepted in the communities I'm a part of, but there's still that like sort of lingering shame. And so engaging with these students just kind of brought that to the surface, helped me to resolve some of my own issues, and learn more about, who I am and why I'm that way.